Very good evening and welcome to all the Facebook viewers of Poornam Ecovision Foundation Facebook page and YouTube channel Apla Paryavaran. So today is our 45th webinar of this webinar series which we have started since August 12th and we have continued this for 45 weeks now. So all the viewers are familiar with Poornam and Poornam's activities, but I shall do a quick run of our activities and projects which we have been running since 8 years successfully. So Poornam Ecovision Foundation is working on 4 projects right now, which are fabric upcycling, e-waste and plastic waste management, green consultancy, under which comes projects like composting, rainwater harvesting, biogas, and sanitary napkin disposal, and awareness initiative. So this is an awareness initiative of Poornam, and you are watching us live on Facebook. So let us go quickly towards our today's session. And for the introduction of our today's speaker, I shall invite our CEO, Dr. Rajesh Manirikar, sir. Welcome, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good. So today we have in our 45th webinar, and excuse me for the background because I am still traveling, but definitely it is I don't want to miss the opportunity to introduce our great speaker today, which is actually a doer. He is more can be seen on field in various activities. You must have seen him with a lot of plastic bags around, collected on a two-wheeler and carrying the plastic waste collected by himself into various from various places, and then taking it to proper disposal. Mainly, I have seen him cleaning or the working at Mastani Talao or various different tourist places across Pune, and we all know him as a volunteer inspiration for this entire social work or the cause of environment. Basically, if we see, it is great honor for me to introduce Mr. Sathya. He is the finalist for I Volunteer National I Volunteer competition last year. But that is a competition that has been taken by a platform. But anyway, he is associated with 63 organizations across Pune, and for last 2-3 years. But before that, he is working for last 15 years as a volunteer in different activities. Along with his specific his specialty is he work for his earning during night time in a multinational company, and then during daytime he worked as a volunteer. So it's a great inspiration for all those who want to work or want to find time for various social activities. So actually, it is great to hear a lot of experiences and the ways in which he has worked in various fields of environment. He has himself created one law, and that law is nothing but land, air, and water. So this law is the field in which he is working, and he has developed various programs in maybe tree plantation or red dot campaigning or any other different campaigns in schools, or and during the COVID period also he has distributed about 36,000 food packets to the required or needy person. So wherever necessary, Sathya is there. So we welcome Sathya ji on this platform, and let us hear more about the volunteering, the inspiration, and the various lot of opportunities in this field. So let us hear from him directly. So I am very sure that you will get more and more information about the volunteering activities and the ways to work for the environment as a volunteer for any of the cause. So let us welcome Sathya in this webinar. Thank you, Sathya ji, for joining this platform to share your views and experiences. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajesh ji.
Thank you, Rajesh sir. So as we could see, today's topic is volunteering opportunities in waste management and environment. So this is really an important topic where one can contribute their part of role in for being a responsible citizen of this country. So let us hear from Sathya sir. Welcome Sathya sir. And
Thanks, Tanvi.
we may shall commence the session now.
Sure. So let me get started with my presentation.
Sure.
And some quick checks. Are you able to see the full screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything hiding on the right-hand side?
No, no problem.
No. Okay. So I'm not watching any other window. So if there is any interruptions or any questions that comes on the way, you can speak out and interrupt me, Tanvi. Okay.
Sure. I would also like to tell our viewers that you shall be able to talk with our speaker, but through the comments. So if you have any questions or views, please comment it under the box, under the comment box under this video. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So, and Tanvi, you also need to help me with the 30 minutes marker, because I would, whatever I miss out, I just quickly would wrap it up as we get towards the end.
Yes.
So thanks for the great opportunity, Manarekar sir and Tanvi, and for Poornam Ecovision. This is usually a kind of a strange situation for me because I'm used to doing volunteering activities on the ground, and trying to kind of do that by seeing a computer is kind of always a different connect. So thanks for bearing with me, and I hope you will get something out of it. As they naturally say, before you do anything, if a task is given to you, what do you do is 90% of the time you plan, you brush up the skills, and 10% to execute. So that's going to be the structure for my talk today also. The basic nuances is that we all know that whatever activity we do, whether it's a volunteering or non-volunteering or maintaining our lifestyle, we need resources on Earth, and Earth doesn't need us. So with that as a disclaimer, I go ahead and I had put together some stats describing the problem, where we are getting into, what we should be aware, and so on. These are statistics drawn from different sources at different timelines. So at the end of it, even if there are any imperfections in the metrics, kindly bear with it, because it is the magnitude of the problem that I'm trying to describe. And I will get you through my experience going through a volunteering journey. Right. First and foremost is that we are one of the species available on this planet. There are 99% of the species who have disappeared for various reasons. And now it's our turn. If you don't do it the right way, we'll be in those lists. What's the problem? What's the biggest problem that we have on Earth today is not human beings, though humans are in a way contributing to some of the problems. And how does it relate to the waste problem? We will come back to it. There is a constant climate change that is felt at the global level, that's across countries and in India. You see climatic changes happening, droughts happening, weather changes, about 15 warmest recorded years, right? 11 of them experienced since 2004. While we grow, there is a pain associated with the growth, which means there are industrial impacts that we are also part of witnessing them, and frequent floods. So even if you don't remember the numbers and the topics on which we get affected, there is an overall consensus that there is a problem about what we use, how do we dispose, and so on. And waste is one of them. So then what is the root? How sustainable? Because we can't stop taking something as a resource, because we need to exist as a species. Different species can survive at different temperatures, different conditions, but human species are different because they have the sixth sense also, which means we need to feed irrational sense and rational senses of human beings. So then what is sustainable? What is a good way of using them and then not using them? As per the word sustainability, it is a composition of three things: people, profit, and planet, interwoven, which means people need to have an healthy, inclusive society and a well-being. And then an economic well-being, which is a currency to get to do things as business. And also, we should not affect too much the environment in which we are one of the members. If you see, companies will roll out products. Typically, you take a composting as one of the waste mitigation exercises. Businesses will come out with products and services to make you in certain ways lazy, in certain ways improve your lifestyle. Then there are mandatory compliances as such CSR, who will donate funds for causes that also feeds into the business in terms of goodwill. And governments and politics promises citizens of their future. So each one has a role to play in this ecosystem to maintain the sustainability. There might be other components, but what does the individual citizens do? Because there is a part of greediness, there is a part of what we will say guilt, and there is a part of ownership that each citizens carry when doing things. You cannot ignore one over the other. You can't say don't have greed. You can't say don't have guilt. You can't say don't have any ownership. But it's a combined at different points in time, different things. So when I talk about sustainable development goals, there is a North Star or an indicator as to what it is developed by UN Sustainable Goals, which says that there are so many things that are moving around us and moving beneath us, and there should be a common denominator. They have, put together some, 17 odd goals, and say if you are balanced on all these things, there will be a reasonable sustainability, which means we consume resource, but we consume resources in a meaningful and a proper way, that it is not taking away the resources of the future. One of the common trend, if you would see, is that there is a demographic shift, which means that people from rural areas are moving into Indian cities. Almost about 20 plus odd are moving every day, right? And it's likely to hit a big number, which means whatever resources you have been distributing across the length and breadth of a country is focused on a smaller area right now. Metros get developed, municipality gets developed, and then there is a larger concentration of resource within a small space. That's what this chart says. At the end, 62 million tons per annum waste generated, right? Whether it's in an urban area or in the rural area, together, right? They pose a different challenge to how we maintain them. So in a normal thing, it's like if the number of corona deaths are there, you visually see it and you get worried about it and you take correct actions, because it is every day thrown up in the media, in the news channel, online media, and so on. But what about pollution related deaths, which either comes from land, air, or water? Where do we see them, right? That's kind of almost like in some yearly report or environmental status report released by municipality. It just goes away from the radar of people, and it's more like a film release of 1 day per year, and then it's lost in thin air. So all these laws that we have around today are centered around human, which means that how to protect humans, what if there is a conflict, what are all the rights and responsibility, and so on. But we as humans are in the context of a larger ecosystem of land, air, and water. Whatever we do to ourselves are manifested in form of readjustment in the form of land parcels, or it is a pollution in air, or not access to clean water or rivers or lakes. So we, as a good to have, is that citizens should be made aware of the changing priorities. Enough is enough, and people like me have been crying. People before me have been crying. People will continue to cry after that if there is no action taken on. But a slight shift from the laws which hold humans, we need to make it better to accommodate land and air and water. Is it done before? Yes, it has been done before. We just need to take the awareness, responsibilities about those laws, and see in the context of volunteerism and waste management. At the bottom of the pyramid, at the end of the day, we belong to a country, we belong to a certain rules, we adhere certain rules, but at the end of the day, we are all individuals in a bigger forest. So this is always something I call it as, a CSR 2.0, which means corporate social responsibility is a set of individual responsibility, right? Either you are in a company or you're not working as a household person. Individual responsibility is a moral belief that we have towards our society and its resources. There are different things that I have listed, like shaping up the agenda, which shapes up our future, behaving ethically around the environment issues, and being accountable for our own actions. But at the end of the day, there are so many things that going on, and it is said that we can't remember more than 7 things at any point in time, be it a phone number or anything, right? So with so much of attention span being less, we still have windows where we not only help ourselves, but we can also start helping others. And that one thing of selfless and selfish combination of doing good is what I term as volunteering. We'll talk about that in more specific. About me, I've worked with 60 plus NGOs, and I always find happiness in the joy of giving. For me, working with so many NGOs or social groups, impact has always been a byproduct. I don't aim at an impact and then volunteer. Why? Is because of my limited experiences. I do enjoy the journey that I go through. I learn from it and tweak as I go on to produce meaningful impact. Because if you are hooked on a particular impact at any point in time, there is a tendency that we might lose out on the larger learning. Because why this is very important is that there are so many moving pieces where we cannot say, is this the right way or is this the wrong way? Because in between the true and false, there is always something called a reality. And I work in my own time zone, as Manarikarji said, that just because I was working in night shift for 15 years, with the blessings of my wife and father and my kids, I was able to contribute in the day. That's me. Why I'm specifically saying this is that when a volunteer goes through a journey, the chief thing that you need to stay invested is not in the cost. The chief thing you need to invested is in you, because if you are healthy, you can drive many causes and volunteer for issues. There are 2 organizations that I represent as a core committee member. One is called Area Sabha Association of Pune, where we work together with communities to increase the green cover in Pune, and Swach Pune, Swach Bharat, where we almost have, like for the 5 years, every weekend we used to do cleanup drives, advocacies, and related to the Swach Bharat Abhiyan under the leadership of our CEO, Punit Sharma ji. So these are the 2 main groups. I will come to it in detail for people who are interested in it. Because as you see, one with Poornam Ecovision, Swach Pune, Swach Bharat, Area Sabha Association of Pune, these are some of them I have worked with where I have seen perseverance as well as consistency as one of the key. Why this is very important is that volunteers look for somebody being consistently there so that they could do re-volunteering. So let me get on to this. And when you are on the journey of volunteering, what's important? Is the cause important? Am I important? Or the volunteers are important? It's a very thin line of shade, I would say. This is my experience. Again, you don't need to blame me. I don't need to blame you. I'm okay to lose a complete forest for volunteers. Why? Because when a destruction is imminent, they help me rebuild the planet and the forest too. That's the importance I carry in volunteering. It is not to advocate that somebody can cut a forest and get away with it, but it is the volunteers at any point in time we can count who can rebuild the planet. So with that context in mind, let's get on to what is volunteering. Volunteering, as I say, is both a selfless act and a selfish act, because it is not only you are giving something to the cause or to the impact or to the outcome, you also get something in return, right? So what are all the chief things that you can give is that I call it as 3 T's, right? This is one of the guys who have already has a license to say this, and I'm just borrowing it from that guy. One is the time, another is talent, or in a common man's language, it's skill. The third is a treasure. Pressure can be your network, it can be your money, it can be your community, it can be anything that you have. So time, talent, and treasure is something that volunteers naturally have it, or at least one of them. But there is also so many terms around volunteering, like philanthropy, internship, jobs, NGOs, CSR. These all are activity or placeholders where volunteers can contribute. But this is the volunteering is an act as well as a mindset in these things. So when I say employee engagement, the purpose is to keep employees engaged, not necessarily to produce an outcome for somebody outside the organization. So with a little bit of balance, you could do volunteer when there is an employee engagement, when there is a CSR activity, when NGOs call out for projects and things like that. Now, one of the benefits of volunteering as perceived by government is that it is viewed as a form of a social capital, right? It's an act where it brings about some certain economic development, and it is common across social organization, which means it includes, it doesn't differentiate. And then there is also something for the volunteers as an individual, right? Then we come to how big is this volunteer? When I say economic development, how big is this, right? Do we have a role to play? Are there enough room to play around? So it was sometime ago, I think it's 2018 or so. I think this numbers could have increased by now. Around 37 countries in a typical year, right? 140 million people do volunteer. These are registered volunteers, which means unregistered volunteers who do their within their community are not counted, which means that might be a bigger number altogether. So if you convert these in terms of the paid equivalent of an hour, right, or jobs, there are 20.8 million full-time equivalent jobs, which means it's an economy without being paid. It's an interesting thing because people love to do it, whether you pay them money or not. That's the gamut of the work that is involved, right? And then how much is it contributing to the economy annually in terms of not having to pay this? It's $400 billion. That's the bigness of this volunteering each one would do. This is not something new to India. We always had a seva culture, which means the culture of giving and helping people. It's just that making it quantifiable is a new form of looking at things. So if you see this, if you put together all that number of volunteers in the world, put them in a country built by volunteers, it would be the 9th largest country in the world. That sounds very interesting. Again, I'm not sure if I can proofread this, but I think it resonates, which means that out of the so many other countries that are in the world, one of the countries equivalent is run by volunteers. That's the way to look at it. Sounds interesting, right? The next one is, we talked about economic development for volunteering and then social inclusion. So this is one of the projects which in India, United Nations volunteering program achieved in getting the communities, irrespective of caste, creed, religion. They were able to get about 500,000 villagers to participate in the early warning system. Bring about, covering 78,000 villages across various places. And also, this is particularly in terms of an initiative where they said, like, whenever there is a destruction or a disaster happens, what is the number of volunteers that we can count and reach is what they had done. So, which means that irrespective of your social status, economic status, you can contribute to the causes that is around your communities. And then third is also, did a survey as a national survey of giving, volunteering and participation is again an agency, which says that what does individual volunteers get is about 79% of them said that they are developing their interpersonal skills, they're understanding people better and dealing with difficult situations, right? And then 1/3 of the volunteers said that it helps them better communicate, which is very great because communication is one of the soft skills, whether you're in a company or not, or you're communicating with your own community member, it's a very important thing. So there are so many things that we kind of gain over it. Both economic well-being, social inclusion, And also there is something for the individual volunteers as a payback. It need not be in the form of currency, but it can be in the form of other things that they accumulate. At the individual level, right? There is a physical and mental health improvement and also life satisfaction out of the same Harlow interview that took place, which means they are able to overcome their mental health issue just by contributing to others. When we are in a very sad state, we feel like we can't do anything. But during that state, when we do something better, right, all our sadness goes away. There is a correlation between it. It might not be applicable to each and every scenario, but I would say most of the scenarios. So at the end of it, what else can it help me being in the context of an individual, a community inclusion, and at the country level? What else is the benefit for me is that I just did a rough count on my LinkedIn profile. 21 of the legends or the CEOs that I have followed or I have been regularly looking at them, all the 21 of them have been volunteering for some or the other organization or cause. That's just my first level of connection. And then 16,000 CEOs in my second level of connection has contributed or associated with a volunteering organization at least once. And there are friends of friends in my third level of connections who have also been associated with volunteering. And then there is another 14,000 in just in India alone. I'm not able to count or connect on time because I have so much thing to chew. So if you see of any professional network, this is just on LinkedIn, okay? People have at least done once volunteering. So why I'm trying to impress upon the cause more than the opportunity is that it helps you plan what are all the benefits, because it's not just a random act. If you plan it, you get networks, you get time to contribute for a cause, your mental health, physical health, you improve your community, and also develop the economy of the country. So with this, whose waste is it anyway now? Okay, so coming to the topic, we have seen what volunteering is, what is the advantage. Now we will see the topic around waste management. So when we say waste, what does it mean to most of them is different from many of them. For me, waste is something that we didn't take advantage of, because there is a portion of waste that is a wealth. We didn't process it or we didn't give it in an appropriate fashion. So we will go into the nuances of it, but whose waste is it anyway? It is our waste. We are using it. We need to kind of control the resources that we use, and we need to manage them in making sure it is properly disposed or it is converted into a wealth. But there are laws that control how a waste should be processed, which means why I'm specifically bringing in the Union Ministry of Environment and Forest, particularly in the Indian context, is that they have given very clear guidelines on what the future, what sorts of waste are generated, either at the municipality level, industrial level, institutional level, and individual level. They've all given it out very clearly. And one of the things they have also included from 2016, I believe, is that they have acknowledged the informal sectors or waste pickers into the waste management process, which means you don't need to do this. There are people who are doing it. You need to feed them with the waste properly segregated. And there are also compliances and rules and penalties that Government of India has given, and also at the municipal body level or urban body level, where if you're a bulk generator, you have to process it within your societies or within your waste pickers ecosystem. So there are always rules. We also need to comply. It is not just we are doing volunteering for a cause or finding out an opportunity to volunteer. It is also our moral responsibility as an individual social responsibility, right? At the end of the day, waste may be anything. It might be belong to an industry, might be belong to an individual or an institution. It's our waste. So what does it look like in the arena of an industry as such, at the country level, at the metro level, and an urban body? I've taken India as a context here, just to make sure it resonates on the demographics given by Tanvi, to me. So it's a significant trend that we see that with more products and services available, consumption patterns and economic development has given rise to waste management as an output. And the industry is supposed to go not less than 7% year on year. Right? At the country level, how does India perform is that 62 million tons, of course, this might be old data, but 62 million tons of garbage every year, that kind of, out of which 70%, like about 43 million tons, are the ones that are collected. And in that, 19% of the garbage is treated, which means the rest of the 31 are lost somewhere in the landfills. Right? It's a very sad state of affairs. But we need to look at it. And then where this waste comes from, or as we call it as a Pareto's chart, right, or the 80-20 rule, is that urban India is the third world's largest garbage producer. Again, a word of caution is that India is not over-consuming as compared to the rest of the world or the leading consumers, but we have our own garbage producers as a topping, just because we don't manage it well. And there is an opportunity to manage it well. 60% of the waste generated in India comes from 10 metropolitan cities, which means we take care of our metropolitan cities. We have done our bit more than diluting our efforts everywhere. And at the urban body level, we see it increase to 165 million tons by 2030. So there is a problem. There is a change happening at the industry level, country level, metro level, and urban level. So if you go to Japan, they give you a kind of a booklet, how to segregate waste. At least 33 types of waste that you need to segregate. But in India, we are hardly asking for 3 to 4 types, solid waste, wet waste, e-waste, and biomedical waste. If you see, these are also growing at the compounded average growth rate of 7% or above. And these are all something that we have a direct effect on it, right? So now we have seen what is volunteerism, what is the benefit, what is waste management scenario looking in India, and what is the volunteering opportunity. Government has already laid out rules. There are private players who produce products and services. There are informal sectors are also got into the ring to manage these waste. As a volunteer, what kind of opportunities that I have in these fields? There are many a times where a volunteer choose what he likes to contribute as to the cost, whether it is in composting area, whether it is in disposal of e-waste, whether it is in disposal of plastic, and so on. But there are other times as, while you're on the journey of volunteership, the causes chooses you. Probably you become a better, plogathon man, or a better composting guy, and things like that. So at the individual volunteering level, or also volunteering as a part of an institution, like say, for example, a company doing a CSR activity, or you can also participate in advocacy and research programs, or programs and tasks given out by those NGOs or the NPOs. So now, what next? Either you can spread awareness, or you can complain, or you can volunteer, or you can participate and influence. Under any of these things, a volunteer's job role, for example, in case of if you want to have clean air and you use Tree Act as one of the mechanisms, you can spread awareness about the rights and responsibility of Tree Act. Simple, easy to volunteer, and I can connect you to organization which helps you do that. Indeed, Area Sabha Association of Pune in Pune does that. Or you can be good at doing something which is complaining. We rant a lot of times. This is not working, that is not working, everywhere is garbage, this, that, everything. So you can volunteer to raise issues and complaints. There are apps which can help you do that. That is also a nature of volunteering. Indeed, in Pune, we have green volunteers to whom people can report and complain about garbage being on the roadside or anywhere. And there are applications from the corporation, that is the municipality, which help you do that too, right? A garbage being burned, or garbage lying unattended, or a dead body of an animal being there, whatever it is, right? And then third thing is also you can participate in the tasks where people are already doing things. and you can add forces there and influencing and bringing about a change. Like, a waste is a waste. For example, a menstrual waste, a sanitary pad, if not properly disposed, it's a waste is a waste. But how do you approach is by not saying repeatedly, hey, use a red dot bag. You need to connect it with the cause that people feel emotional about it, which is about dignity of labor. 1,600 women segregate the sanitary pad every day, and think about their lives. If you have to touch a sanitary pad which is used after 3 days, you would not do it. Then how can you help others do that? By just putting a red dot on it and helping them. So there are different ways. We'll come to it. Now, choosing the way, get frustrated and do nothing. This is the most easiest thing to do. Why? Because there are times where we counterproductively do. For example, we say, I'm going to collect all these sanitary bags and burn it. It's going to move the needle from one waste bucket to another waste bucket, which is you're having, instead of ending up in a landfill creating methaneous gases, let's say, you're incinerating, which means not in a proper condition, then it goes into air pollution, either in land, air, or water, it comes through, right? So there are times where you can meaningfully understand the nature and then contribute instead of doing haphazard, right? Or there are times where before even volunteering, you need to ask the right question. Has this problem been solved before or not? Then you know that you are not going to go down a path which didn't lead anywhere. Or you can use apps to comply and influence, as I said, by changing the behaviors and habits, making people aware of various causes, championing a cause, helping raise funds to beat a cause, and knowing your rights and responsibility. Just a quick time check. Are you guys able to still hear me better, Tanvi?
Yes, sir. We still have 10 to 15 minutes to go.
Okay. That's on the 30th mark, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
No, right now we have completed about 28 minutes.
Okay.
So we have 2 more minutes for the 30th.
Sure. So I'll go on a speedway. So
Sure.
there are different things that people are already doing. So you don't need to do that, right? A sweet spot, as we call it, as a volunteering sweet spot. Companies are already doing energy audits, and they are having ERGs, employee resource group, who deal with it. Communities that are doing, like for example, in Pune, I belong to an area which is Kalyani Nagar. There is perfect rules and regulation as to who to approach for which ways, and we have a document. It is laid out very clearly. And on the individuals, we have crusaders and people who fight for various causes around the waste management, right? On the 4 headings that I said: e-waste, solid waste, wet waste, and then so on and so forth. And the companies are already doing by pledging, as one of the Microsoft initiatives that you see, they are doing. Likewise, many other companies are also doing in terms of setting a target, working towards it, and then making a carbon neutral world, in terms of, because all these things is expressed in terms of the carbon footprint, whatever waste that goes to produce, to use, and to dispose. Community wise, for example, if a IPL event happens, what does it belong to? It's a community event, right? It's an entertainment event, whatever you call it. They worked out saying that for every event, we need to plant 2,818 trees if you need to mitigate all the people who come together, the things that are being played, the things that are being sold, and things like that. So even communities and events related to communities are taking an idealistic look at it and what they can do. Some of them achieve greatness by doing it. Some of them are planning to do it. And another one is companies on the mobility aspect of it, because when you move, there is extra energy spent. And what does that count of audits? These are all related to the energy spent, not on the motion, not on giving you comfort, but also on what is the product that is being produced, what has that been handled, and how it is being disposed. Everything. This is just an example. Same way with hotels. So each and everything in a hotel, let's say, how does it operate? What hot water is used for, from where it comes, how can you recycle? How can you, just by putting a towel on the platform or putting it on the down, creates what kind of energy you use and things like that. And even on the food choices that you have, as to what is the energy spent on it, equivalent of carbon footprint, what is a good alternative, and things like that. So everything is kind of given, and it's a known thing. So now comes to the intentions of the individuals in his, for example, to Hinjawadi, right? A journey. What is the equivalent of a carbon equivalent of it, or a footprint? We need to know about it, right? So there are many ways to dissect this. At the end of the day, taking an example of Pune, I'm happy to say that we have a good carbon footprint study done, and there are many ways to kind of analyze that again. Why I'm saying this is that government institutions pledging their investment in terms of reducing the energy requirements out of waste, out of products, out of services are happening. Now, what is that I would choose? There are different hierarchies in which I can choose. Either I can take 2 steps at a time, 1 step at a time, or all parallelly on the themes of reducing, repurposing, recycle, recovering, and disposing. This is a common knowledge that everyone has. I'm just going to skip this part of it, because what is the advantage of tree plantation on the environment and how it can mitigate the gaseous things is something that you know. So I'll quickly skip over it. If you want to do something on the environment as a volunteer, if you like this, right, there are different levels of volunteership that I can do, particularly at least around Pune. There might be similar things that I can guide you. If you're not a part of Pune and belong to a different state or different country, we can help connect. There are about 6 to 7 hills where there are people who are maintaining hills and the trees in it. It's just that you have to just go on a weekend, appear, let them know that you're coming, and then volunteer for a cause, either for plantation or for maintenance or for creating, CCTs and things like that. Or you can be sitting in your company using your desktop to gift a tree to somebody. So whichever way it is, you have an opportunity to volunteer where you want, through which you want, either mobile or desktop, or where you want to physically go and volunteer for, right? All these things can be done. It's just you need to acknowledge yourself as a volunteer, give your time. It's the least skill, right? I mean, you go, make a hole, plant a tree, cover it with mud, give some water, come back, right? A 12-year kid can do, a 65-year-old guy can do, depending upon what is his interest level and also the physical ability level. So the complaint impact or influence, there are different categories where you can volunteer so that, like for example, a dustbin not clean, a waste not properly handled or disposed. You can raise an alarm by complaining. Use a mobile phone, log in. There are volunteers who are doing it for their communities. So you don't need to have that big bang approach of, trying to register, go and do something and, commit thousands of hours. No, you can do it at the comfort of what you hold in your hand. So these are some of the things that might appeal to you in terms of, one of the organizations that I represent is called Swach Pune, Swach Bharat. Every week you will have an event, except for the COVID times now. Time is fixed, 7 to 9 Sunday morning. The name of the event will be recognized on Facebook. If you click allow notification, you will automatically get a pop-up. No need to register, no need to do anything, just come and volunteer. Similarly, being volunteer, they conduct every year, every quarter, mega events where you can participate. There is Connect 4, which are like give you online volunteering opportunities, and then skill-based volunteering from iVolunteer. I will list all of them, but you see that either it is a water cause, or it's a lake cause, or it's a river cause, or it's a waste management or cause, or it's a waste being thrown into a river. For all those, you have you just need to offer yourself your time and skill to do it. I'm not even talking about the fundraising aspect of all these things. People are already doing. They just need, citizens' power. If you are that citizen and you like it, please go and do it. Again, this is the social transformation cost related to waste management. 20 tons of sanitary waste just by you can really make a difference to the way the wastes are disposed. So I'm going all over the places right now. If you see trees to e-waste to sanitary waste to plastic waste and so on and so forth, these are very much relatable. But what I'm trying to say here is that these are all the volunteering organizations that I thought related to waste management that I can put up there. There are so many other I can lead you on to. For example, Swach Pune, Swach Bharat, where it makes that you need to keep your cities clean at the city level. Whatever wall paintings you see across Pune, some of them are done by us, which means if you love painting, you have already contributed towards creating that advocacy towards waste management and keeping your cities clean. It is not just you have to pick up a trash and put it into the dustbin. Those cleanup drives are also there, but there are different ways to kind of communicate the need, the action, and further follow up. Then there is a door-to-door collecting agency, which is called Swach, as most of you might be knowing. They conduct on-demand We Collect programs, right from your e-waste to your plastics to your old clothes to even broken cycles. They can, if you want to volunteer, you can take up your own initiative, call these guys into your community and say, hey, so-and-so We Collect program is happening in our community. Please come and donate whatever you have. So you don't need to wait to go to a place. You can make the volunteering opportunity come to your place. Swach is one of them. And there are also other companies like Enora, ProEarth, Poornam Ecovision. They all do collection drives and things like that. And on a need basis or on an ad hoc basis, you can call them up also. Then there is another interesting thing, so that the waste is not burnt. Like the dry leaves, there is one initiative by one of my friend, Aditi. It's called as a brown leaf, where they collect dry leaves and make sure the waste is processed much better. And then Poornam Ecovision, I don't need to say it. They even recently conducted an e-waste collection drive that kind of brought in a lot of people together. And then there is a fun group called Pune Ploggers. So what they do is they just go around running around people and places, and whatever they go on their way, they find a plastic or something being trash thrown out, they pick up. And it's kind of a fun event collecting when you are trying to maintain your health. This is a very famous concept covered even in one of Prime Minister's speech. We have a local chapter of it called Pune Ploggers, and I can put you through those people. And then there is another one called Eco-Social Tribe. It's called Chakra, I believe, Chakra. They get all the plastics which are not of microplastics or say 0.5 micron and above. They upcycle and create fibers through it, and they make upcycled products like handbags, like wallets, and so on. And there are different types of people who are promoting advocacy for sustainable things, like take a sanitary pad. Like so much of waste needs to be handled, and it ultimately ends up in a landfill. However perfect you are in terms of disposal, it's not sustainable. In an entire lifetime of using a sanitary pads or a collection of sanitary pads, you just need to have only 7 menstrual cups that you can dispose in your ever lifetime. That's the kind of sustainability and disposal is actually prevent from accumulating more waste or products that use more waste. So they call it as a cupster program. You can probably call yourself a cupster if you're a female adolescent age, and you can use a menstrual cup. So there is an organization where you can volunteer, you can promote. And I have seen there are companies who invite people with, when a newcomer joins their company, they greet them. If there is an adolescent girl or women coming in, yeah, they greet them with a menstrual cup and a coffee mug, right? Different ways through which they can, prevent waste from happening or, over usage of resource. That's right. There is a good organization called Sagar Mitra. Again, it's from one of my friend, Mr. Vinod. They inspire kids to do something that will not pollute the ocean. So if you use something, you throw something, it gets into the river, rivers goes into an ocean, there is a big bunch of waste that gets accumulated in the oceans. And you know what happens, right? Microplastics, fishes, there are more microplastics than the fishes you will find on the ocean. So sitting at home, what do? He enables kids to collect which are handleable plastic and give it out to a processor through schools. And they also, interesting is that they have a radio channel for it, purely manned by kids. It's a very interesting concept. What is the role of volunteer there? You can get more schools into it, more kids into it. So there is no physical limit of what you can do with the least skill, the least time that you have towards it. These are literally things which you can do tomorrow. And you have people, you can connect with them. River conservation, there is an alternate way of looking at how do you actually prevent waste, which means there is so much of toxic chemicals and things we use in our day-to-day life. By rearranging the lifestyle, without doing anything, the river gets clean, because most of the products that we use today are chemical, and Jeevit Nadi gives you an alternate of how you can use a toxic-free lifestyle so that your rivers aren't polluted. As we see overall, waste is an output, right? By doing something better, you avoid the waste being even generated or toxicity being generated. It's a great way of looking at things, right? And then if you're a student or a youth, right? There are already NSS programs that are done, and I have participated in many of those NSS programs for cleanup drives, for waste management, and things like that. So you can right away start when you are in a college, or when you are in your home, or when you are actually coming out as a volunteer or a grown-up citizen. Then there is a specialized set of skills that are needed for research-based project around, all these waste management as a philosophy, be it watershed management, be it cleanup of lakes, reviving of lakes, or studying air pollution and the effects, what contributes, or even educating awarenesses about these things. iVolunteer is a platform which gives you ability to use your skills to meaningful purpose such as these. Of course, they go beyond just the environment and waste management. And then another one thing that I like about is being volunteer. They basically connect the NGOs, the volunteers, and the platforms together on whatever is the gap. So they become an anchor in making sure there is a larger amount of volunteers who come on board. And they regularly do, cleanup drives, painting drives, advocacy sessions, plastic collection. They have this unique concept of the biggest plastic ball. Like, they let people come and put in their household plastics, and whoever makes the biggest ball from their community, which means they have collected, and then they give it to a processor. Again, the second and the third competition is how less they bring in, because it should not be like encouraging indirectly overconsumption. So these guys are good at doing that. And then there are two agencies which is at the at the level of governance and government. One is NSWAI, National Solid Waste Management Association. They specifically, and DG Sevak, which is again an arm of government, they promote advocacy around e-waste in communities, in individuals, as well as in the various organizations they belong to. So those are something, they have a clear-cut procedure as to how to onboard a volunteer, how to go through it, what are all the tasks, how do you get the certificate, everything, right? And then there is a organization called EFI who revives. Their specialty is all about reviving lakes, from waste getting into lakes. How do you rejuvenate the lakes? And then alternate fuel, which is Vayumitra, cook with whatever is left over, basically concentrating on the the methaneous gases, how productively you can conserve it, how you can use it as a cooking fuel, so that that part of it doesn't go to the landfill. Whatever gets consumed gets disposed then and there. And then Connect4 is again a platform. They have a buffet of volunteering. Like every week you will have notifications as to what you can do. Some of these weeks might be about waste management. Some other weeks it might be about plantation drive and so on. And yearly there is a festival. Again, there is an organization which most of you would know called Gunj. They collect all the cloths which can be reused. For you, it might be very old, but for somebody who can't afford it, it might be a new one. So they help do these drives across, at least in parts of Pune, Maharashtra, and other places. And then there are online platforms where you can raise funds if you are specifically a volunteer who's trying to raise funds for a cause around waste management and things like that, right? At the end of the day, logistics, transporting, reusing it, upcycling it, all involves certain amount of cost in it, right? So either you can directly raise funds for causes, or you can donate your second items, or second-hand items, or even invest in people who do this, right? Like crowdsourcing, social investment platforms that I have given. And finally, if you run out of ideas, go through all the stories that is there in the Better India. It'll give you lots and lots of people who have gone through the path of you as a volunteer, as a change catalyst, and so on. So what I'm trying to give you here is some of the very actionable institutions, or NGOs as we call, non-government organization, who are already having a conduit for volunteers to come and join and be a part of that cause. I'll give you a watchword here. There are not all the things that they do, you may like it, or it might be interesting forever. But while you go through all of them, you will find a sweet spot that you feel that you can consistently do or prevent a certain waste from happening. You will find out the sweet spot in you to do it. Either you can join forces with them, or you can create your own program so that many more volunteers would join. For example, Swach Pune, Swach Bharat, more than 5,000 volunteers who would have at least done 1 hour of work in a year. So we say this as whenever there is an event, whether be it a cleanup drive, advocacy event, or educating communities, or painting event, we say 3 commandments. Likewise, every organization has a theme, right? We say 1 is an army, 2 is a team, 3 is always a bonus, which means on that day, if one comes, even one comes, he will do his bit and would leave. If 2, they will share their work. Anything beyond is we have an opportunity to do more, right? So likewise, there are so many organizations that I've listed. Why I've specifically listed them is not a certain affinity, because I know them as people and I've worked them for a lot of time. So feel free to, I'll be more than happy to connect you with them. This is specifically around waste management and environment, right? For example, Poornam Ecovision, if you have a feasible amount of collection drive around e-waste, you can call out Poornam Ecovision and say, hey, I would like to volunteer for this in my society. Can you guide me on that? They'll be more than eager to help them out, right? To you or to your societies. Same way with others. So at the end of the day, what I would say is that join forces with an existing NGO, which means you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Participate as an opportunity in your. There are green schools are also established, which means they help you do at the school level audits. So which means you have volunteering opportunity right where you work or where you study or where you live, and then you can champion a cause around those communities. Which means you don't need to wait for somebody to offer you a job for volunteering. You can yourself do it, and there are organizations which can come to your rescue and help you out there. Particularly for research organization, I have a different webinar altogether. We can discuss that because that's a bigger area of interest. If you don't have time, at least be individually socially responsible. So at the end of the day, I would thank you for all the patient hearing. And most of the events that I'm a part of, I make one thing very clear, particularly with the online media, be it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Whichever event I'm going, I make it public. Why? Because the friends who are connected to me, if they are interested, they can know I'm going there. Even if I'm not going there, they will be interested and they can continue the journey. Small act of kindness. If you're going to an event, advertise. There is nothing shy in about it, right? Who knows? Somebody else might get inspired to join you, or they might want to go alone. So likewise, you can look at my Facebook profile. Most of the events are recorded. All the events that I go are public, which means you have an opportunity to join forces. And if you have any more question, my WhatsApp number, and I will promise you a 24-hour SLA, which means If I'm not able to help you, I'll put you on to the right person who can help you within 24 hours. If I'm not able to do, I will also communicate that within 24 hours. So with that, I will leave it open to any questions, and if we are on time. Tanvi?
Sure. Yes, sir. First of all, thank you so much for associating with Poornam Ecovision Foundation. And we could see an amazing presentation where opportunities were open to all. And it was very crystal clear, so we could understand everything. And most importantly, we have come across 45 webinars now. Most of the topics have been related to environment and waste. But this is a topic where our viewers can actually participate and participating on ground level. That is very important. Just talking about it does not make it does not play a part like the volunteers which they want to. So if the volunteers want to associate regarding any of these activities, you can also see it on the slide that there are various organizations working in this field. So if you have any chance to work with them, please do. With your permission, I would like to start with the question answer session.
Sure.
So
I'll keep this slide so that people can capture it if they want. It's anyway there on Facebook. It's just that these are something that I can immediately connect them for causes. But beyond this, I have a list of another 60 to 100 based on. For example, one of these seminars, somebody came and asked me, like, I have coconut shells that I everyday do it and fibers associated with it. Can somebody help me, do waste if I'm not doing composting? There is one of my friend, Mr. Dattar, who actually exclusively does that. So I have an old cycle. There is another organization, Pedal Mission, which is a program who distributes it or repairs it and gives it to people who can't afford. So there is a plethora of things. These 20 are just for your reference for today, but feel free to connect with me. So I'll put up this slide. If you want to capture it and use it, go ahead. And I'm open for questions.
Yes. So our first question is, what does CSR activity mean?
Yes. So CSR is a mandate given by the government to the commercial organizations or organizations called corporates. It's called as corporate social responsibility. So it's based on a theme that whatever you are taking as a resource to build your business in direct or indirect ways, you should be able to mitigate the fallout of the resources being used. For example, if I'm making somebody, for example, there was a company who is located in Chakan. It's an automobile industry. And they felt comfortable to locate that because it's away from the main city, right? Because of the convenience, the expansion and everything, because it does a certain economic development. So that company, what they did was that they did so many good things for the country, but they were actually making people, like say thousands of people, come out from their homes, all the way drive 20, 25 kilometers towards Chakan. It's a place in Pune, say. So the side effect of getting people is that fuel will be burnt. People have to take public and non-public transport systems. So what they said is that these are some of the side effects which need not be bad, but we will compensate, right? One of the initiatives they said, as a corporate, we are socially responsible for these things, and we would like to make the lives better by planting trees. So actually, for how much ever they had gotten, they planted equivalent carbon footprint of mitigation or sequestration for the number of trees. And they did that. This is one of the way corporates look at substituting for the side effects in terms of waste, or in terms of the pollution that they create, or in terms of the carbon footprint they increase. So corporates have a mandate that they should be able to spend 2% of the profits that are generated towards these causes. So it's a kind of a regulation or a compliance, as you would call it. So CSR is corporate social responsibility. Probably an education like Microsoft can, in the COVID times, they give free training on Microsoft products. That's again a cause that they are contributing for. It's a corporate social responsibility. So different companies have different things. And one of the pioneers, I would say, is the company Tata, right? They took care of the well-being of the corporates and their employees and the environment. So it's a theme. and it's also a compliance. I hope that answers your question.
Sure, absolutely. And second question is actually for Poornam Ecovision. So someone has asked, how do we connect with Poornam Ecovision? So we have a volunteer coordinator named Manashri. So we shall pin our contact number and email ID in the comments. So look for that comment in the comment section. So what activities Poornam provides, what opportunities Poornam provides in this field is I would like to tell you that we conduct e-waste drives and plastic waste drives, as sir also rightly mentioned about it. Thank you for that, sir. And we conduct these drives in societies every weekend. So if you are interested to conduct a drive in your area or in your society, you can contact us on our website www.poornamecovision.org. Also, we have other activities such as school connecting, awareness sessions, and networking, videography, photography. So there are various activities where you can contribute by being a volunteer in our organization also. As you can see, fourth number of on the slide, you can see the fourth name, Poornam Ecovision. So there also you can contact us. And most important thing is we are working in waste, and the most prior motto of this thing is to segregate waste. So why is waste segregation important? Sir has also rightly explained it, and we know the various consequences which why segregation is important. So we have been segregating wet waste, garden waste, and plastic waste, e-waste, and these wastes such as e-waste. Now this goes for refurbishing. Plastic waste goes for recycling. Wet waste, we conduct composts at composting systems at various localities and in societies. So all this is just to promote segregation, and these are the main activities which Poornam conducts. So another activity is fabric upcycling, where we collect denims at various locations and at our centers, where all the participants can give their denim waste, from which we make various products. We have more than 100 products made out of denim. Another thing is we also make school bags, which is a volunteer activity. So you can donate your denim waste, and out of that, a school bag will be made. Also, the things which are like for e-waste, if there is a good mobile, and all we know that now it has all been online and everything. So we also donate it to schools where the needy children have no facilities such as mobile phones or laptop. So if you have any of such waste, you can donate it to your nearest center, or you can also visit our office in Pune at Siagarh Road. So these are the activities which Poornam also has given opportunities for the volunteers. And I think sir has also already covered all the points. Also, we have had a session with Vayu Mitra for biogas. So if you want to watch that video, you can visit our Facebook page and watch that video also. So I think this presentation has helped a lot of people, and we hope that more people will come and participate and associate with Poornam Ecovision. So for the time being, we are considering only these two questions, but viewers can keep posting their comments and views under the video. We will convey your messages to Sathya sir, and he will be eager to answer all your questions. So I think we can now go towards the end of this session, and everyone has really been very supportive and attended the whole session very patiently, as you said. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sathya sir, and keep supporting us, keep participating in such activities, as these are noble causes. So keep supporting and stay tuned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sathya sir.
Thanks a lot, Tanvi, and thanks to Poornam Ecovision. I hope it's just the start of where they can look forward for volunteer. And one thing I really appreciate is that giving a platform to talk about other opportunities also was a very good handshake. And specifically, thanks for that.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me stop the share.